Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. Today, I actually picked up the holiday palette from Hourglass. So Hourglass always releases these holiday launches, and I know everybody always gets excited for them, but I will be honest with you guys, I usually do not. I don't get excited for these. I feel like a lot of years they are very repetitive, and I usually like their secondary collections that they launch, like the blush quads and stuff like that. Those are usually like kind of interesting to me. I told you guys I wanted to buy this palette, but here's the thing, okay? So I wasn't gonna buy all three. There was the elephant, the butterfly, and the tiger. So there's three different shade ranges of this palette. So 5% of the profits of this collection are going to the unlocked support of the non-human rights protection in their efforts to secure fundamental rights for animals. So 5% is going to an animal organization, so that is awesome. But the cool thing that Hourglass did this year is that you were able to interchange the packaging. So you could pick whichever packaging you like, and you could pick whichever palette you liked, and you could create like your ultimate palette, right? So I was looking at all the palettes and I was like, well, should I buy each one? Each one's like $80. It's 80 or 85. Like, these are expensive palettes, you know? So it just honestly just didn't make sense to me. The one that I would personally pick up, like the one that matched my skin tone, honestly looked really redundant to me to the whole line. And I was like, well, I don't really want to buy that one. It didn't look anything special to me. And the one I'm talking about is Elephant. So Elephant would be the one that I guess for me would match my skin tone, and it would be like the one I should pick up. But looking at the top line, all those finishing powders and stuff, I was like, okay, this looks so generic. Like, I almost feel like I saw this last year or the year before. I have the Ghost palette. I have another one of their palettes. It looks so similar. So I was like, no, I don't really want that palette, right? So then I looked at the Butterfly, and the Butterfly is marketed for a lighter skin tone. And usually with Hourglass, their stuff is always so light anyways that I always have to go up in the range, you know? So I was like, okay, so definitely I don't want to get near Butterfly because it's definitely not going to work for me. So I kept staring at Tiger, and Tiger is made for deep complexions. But here's the thing, is that I wanted to buy Tiger to manipulate it to work for my skin tone. In other words, to not use it for what it's intended for. And just use it for what I want to use it for and what I think I need in my collection. So what I decided to do was buy Tiger. But they are doing the little promotion that you could buy whatever packaging you want. And honestly, the Tiger packaging was not my favorite. Elephant was. So I bought the Elephant packaging with the tiger inside. So I know a lot of people online are going to be buying the specific palette and not customizing them because it's easier for review purposes, but I didn't do that because I didn't want the other packagings and I didn't want the other palettes. So I got Elephant, and this is what you guys would probably do at home. I bought Elephant and I bought Tiger inside because for my personal collection, I thought that this would be the ideal route, okay? Now, Elephant is also like my favorite animal in the world. Like, I love elephants. I've even done donations to elephant rescues before. I love elephants. And I really thought that this color combination could be interesting for my collection, okay? Obviously, I'm not going to be using it as intended to use because this is what they're intending it to be used for. And obviously, these colors are not going to work this way for my skin tone. But that doesn't matter. This is makeup. You can do whatever you want with makeup. Just figuring out how the tones work on your skin and what you can actually use them for, that is perfectly fine as well. So today I'm going to demo for you guys the way I've been using this palette and the way that I feel like it works for me. Another thing I thought would be good is to just actually see if I think that this would actually work on a deep complexion, because Hourglass tends to market things for certain complexions that it doesn't always work for, right? So why not try it out? So that is what I decided to do. Of course, if you're not subscribed, I would love it if you would hit subscribe right now. But what we're gonna do in this video is I will demo it for you guys the way I am intending on using it. And then at the end, I'll give you guys my thoughts on whether I did the right thing, the wrong thing, or if I think I'm gonna use this at all. So let's go ahead and let's zoom in and start demoing. But before we do, if you guys hear my voice a little strange, I am struggling with some sinus issues because of allergies and all of that good stuff. So sorry about that, but let's go ahead and let's get into it. So here we go. Let's try out Tiger. So this is what Tiger looks like. And like I said before, I purchased this because I just kind of want to see if it works for my skin tone. I'm not going to be using this the way it's intended. Obviously, I'm going to be trying to modify it to use it the way that I can use it for my skin. So let me just quickly show you guys what they are really intended for so you get an idea. There's Transcendent Light, and that's a finishing powder. There is Brilliant Glow Strobe, that's a strobe powder. There's Burnish Glow, that's a blush. There's Divine Strobe Light, that's a strobe powder. Copper Flash Strobe Light, that's a strobe powder. And Iridescent Rose, that's a blush. So as you guys can see, I'm not going to be using it for those different reasons because this obviously for my skin tone can't be a finishing powder, but definitely for deep skin tones, what it's marketed for, that's great. I'm going to actually try to use it as a bronzer, and I'm also going to use this as a highlight. I'm going to try using these as blushes, actually these as blushes, this one probably for eyeshadow, and this actually could probably just be like an all over powder for me. You know, because it has a little bit of golden, but it's kind of my skin tone. It has a little bit of glitters in it, so maybe not my favorite, but I think that this is one of those strobe powders that usually does. Usually not my favorite for all over the skin, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and play with this. I thought this was the most attractive palette and one that was the most different from everything else I have from Hourglass. Let's go ahead and let's start. I'm going to try this right here as a bronzer. See if it works out. I'm going to lightly put it on. Definitely it looks like it's buildable, so that's great. It is a finishing powder, so it's supposed to be lightweight. It's not supposed to be super pigmented off the get-go, which is good if you want to like try to double it as a bronzer if you have a light, medium, or medium skin tone. I'm assuming this would probably work the best on medium, but you know, in the summer I'm a lot more tan. I'm actually losing a little bit of tan right now, but I do have still a tan. And to be honest, this does look like it's giving me a nice little bronze. It is a little bit more on the red side than the orangey side, which usually is not the color direction I usually go for bronzer. But obviously this is not really supposed to be a bronzer. So even if it works a little bit as a bronzer, that's good for me. It does seem like it is. Okay, so I do actually think that's working as a bronzer. So yeah, I could definitely use this as a bronzer lightly. Will I be able to do like the whole J-Lo bronze looks that I like to do sometimes with my other bronzers? Probably not, because it'll probably get too red. But to just like lightly bronze the skin, I think that worked. Just don't go too ham with it because it will go a little bit red if you have a light skin tone. But I think that this is going to be a beautiful finishing powder for deep complexion, so that's really awesome. I want to try these two as blushes. That's kind of what I got them for. I honestly think that they could be absolutely beautiful. So let's start off with this one. This is the one that's probably going to be the easiest for my skin tone. Oh, and they're super pigmented because they have more pigment, because they're for deeper complexions. They're actually coming out. It's coming out really nice on my skin. So I like that as a blush. I also think that I could go very light-handed with it because it is pretty pigmented. So that's good too. I don't mind having to go light-handed with blushes, especially if I know, you know, that it's pigmented. And that definitely is pigmented. So that's good. And that's a really pretty color. Okay. And I definitely put too much on, but that's okay. That's okay. Let's go into this one. Let's see. I'm actually excited for this color. I thought it could be a very pretty blush, but I think I'm going to have to go very light-handed with this one. I also feel like that's a really pretty blush. Has a little bit more of like that yellowy golden tone. So if you want to have more of like a golden look, that definitely is given to you. But if you go light-handed, they look really nice. Like that looks really pretty. This one's deeper than this one. So I think they both work. I think they definitely both work, just super light-handed. You hardly even have to put any on. So that's actually really good. So if you buy this palette for $85 and you want it to last a really long time, you don't have to use that much blush, which is great. So let's just go like this and blend everything in a little bit better. So there we go. Those are the two that I would use as blushes, and we already did the one that I would use as a bronzer. What we have left is, let's try this on the eyes, because this is not going to work as a blush for me. That's just too shiny. Ooh, that's a pretty eyeshadow. Yeah, that makes a really pretty eyeshadow. Super pretty eyeshadow. So this is actually going to give me a really nice bronzy look. Believe it or not, this kind of just became like an all-in-one face palette for me because I have an eyeshadow that's really pretty, and then I also have two blushes that work nice. You know, one better than the other, but definitely both work. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this orangey tone that I used as a blush and just like blend it all out. I mean, I think that looks really nice, so if you wanted to use it as an eyeshadow, I will tell you that when you look inside of the, you know, little packet, it does say avoid contact with eyes. So it does say warning. Here, right here, it does say a warning, avoid contact with eyes. So, I mean, sometimes they have to say that because this is marketed as a face palette. It's not really supposed to be for your eyes, so I don't know, like if you have sensitive eyes like me, maybe you want to avoid using the colors on the eyes since they're really not formulated for the eyes. But then again, if you can get away with doing it, it does work really nice on the eyes. So for me personally, since I do have sensitive eyes, I'll see if this does anything to me. If it doesn't, then I know I could use this color on the lids. I'm just going to go ahead and put on the highlight. So let me go ahead and put on the highlight. It's this one right here. It's a really pretty highlight. So I really like that as a highlight. This is the only one here that I think what I would probably do is mix it with the color that I was going to do the bronzer just to lighten it up a little bit and add a glow sometimes. But other than that, I probably wouldn't use that one as much because that is to add like that strobe look to the face. And for me personally, I don't usually like to see glitter on my skin. So this one does have like those little micro glitters inside of it. Like I could see it when I pick it up on my finger. You could just kind of see them. So I would probably avoid using that one, but yeah, so this is kind of like the look that I could do, very natural and pretty. Let me go ahead and put in some mascara and I'll get into some final thoughts. Okay, so you guys saw how I completely did not listen to anything that Hourglass said that these are supposed to be used for. I used everything completely not right in this video, but there is no right when it comes to makeup. You know, like things are marketed for certain skin tones, for certain ways of being used, but you can do whatever you want with makeup. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. This is the most non-boring palette, in my opinion, that they released. I do believe that the butterfly palette may be really useful for people with very light skin tones that maybe struggle with finding that really nice finishing powder that might match their skin. So that one I do think is nice. But I think Elephant was really redundant. I feel like it's like what we keep on seeing. And I know it's marketed for the medium complexions, but I do still feel like it's kind of like, I don't know, like maybe the bronzer would be good, but everything else I'm like, I've seen this before. Now, I think that this is probably the best palette because I really like it for the deep complexions, but I will try to find creators that have a deeper complexion. I'll list them down below in case you're looking for this for your complexion. But I do think for light, medium skin tone that want to play with this and use it more of like a blush palette or just a bronzing, blush, and highlight palette, I do think that this does work. I just have to go into this thinking, go light-handed. Don't try to be like a JLo with this bronzer because it's not really a bronzer and it has a little bit of red in it. And if you go too ham, you're gonna turn super red and you're not gonna like it. But as a very nice contoury bronzer to add a little bit of color to your skin, very light-handed, looks beautiful. I do think this works as a highlight for my skin tone, so I'm light medium, but I do have more of a yellowy golden undertone. So this does work for me. This one right here, it would work as an all-over skin like finishing powder, I guess, if I wanted to, but it's more of like a strobe because it has like those little glitters in it. It probably would be the one that I would use the least unless I wanted to mix these two together and create like an all-over face glow while I'm bronzing. I could do that. This one right here as the blush works the least for the light medium skin tones, so I would think that this one right here is the best. Like it works beautifully, and I think it's gonna work for light, medium, and deep. I think everybody's gonna really like that. Now this one, I guess as you get deeper in complexion, this is gonna look better, but if you have a light medium like me, if you go in very light-handed, it does have a very beautiful peachy tone to it, and it has like a little bit of shine to it, and it's very pretty. So yes, I could definitely use this as a blush. I just gotta be very light-handed, but I like the color, right? This right here, the only thing that I could use this for is eyeshadow because it's way too deep for anything else. Like I can't use it as a highlight. I couldn't even use it as a blush. So let's say you have a medium skin tone that's a little bit on the deeper side. You could mix these two together if you wanted to create a little bit of a less harsh or a little deeper highlight. So I do like that, but I definitely think it looks beautiful as an eyeshadow. It's not like a super metallic-y eyeshadow. It's very natural looking. Looks great for daytime. So I know it's not intended for this, but it looks like a sparkly, beautiful eyeshadow. If it doesn't irritate my eyes, I think I would definitely use this as an eyeshadow, and it actually creates for me a really nice all-in-one face palette. So overall, I was skeptical. I looked at this a few times and thought, you know what, maybe I made the wrong move here. This might be way too deep for me, but I think I made it work. Like I honestly think that the Deep Complexions got a beautiful palette this year. This is gorgeous, okay? So I think like even the medium complexions, if they were to have done something similar to this in the way that I used it, that would have been a beautiful palette even for medium complexions or for the fair complexions as well. And to be honest, I think that this will be the most used Hourglass palette that I have right now, especially after playing with it again. I played with it yesterday and I put way too much of this on and I didn't like the way it looked. It looked too red. My favorite bronzing palette from Hourglass still is this one. So this is the Ambient Lighting Palette Volume 2. This is the best bronzing palette that Hourglass has ever done for light medium skin tones. And then they came out with another one. So now they have a third one for deep complexions. Love this bronzer shade. It's absolutely stunning and it works really well. Now I'll show you guys the difference between these two so you could see how this one is a little bit more red, but it's supposed to be a finishing powder. So if you guys can see the difference. So this is a lot cooler than this one. So that's why when I use this, I'm using it more to add color and almost to do like a contouring effect, like more of a sculpted look rather than like that J-Lo all over bronze look. I could definitely use this palette, do the bronzer, and then go in with this palette that the bronzer is a little bit more cool for me. It has red in it, but it has a little bit more cool effect and do more of like a sculpted look. I think if I were to compare this to, where is my Charlotte Tilbury? If I were to compare this to my Charlotte Tilbury, this is the Sculpt palette that I actually broke my favorite color. This one right here is my Charlotte Tilbury, and this one right here is the Hourglass. So you see what I'm saying? So if you could see what I'm saying about the coolness, it does have a more cool effect to it, which can allow you to do more of a sculpting look if you have a light medium skin tone. Whereas if you have a deep complexion, this is going to work really nice all over your skin to kind of like give you that nice, beautiful finished look. But I personally think it looks really great as a sculpting palette for me. And I am happy with my purchase now. So thinking of this the correct way, because it wasn't intended for what I'm using it for, but thinking of it correctly as a sculpting blush and eye and a little bit of highlight palette, I think that this works great and I really, really like it for me. So I am going to use this. I'm actually going to use this palette more than I think I've used any other of the Hourglass palettes that I have personally purchased. So yes, I like this. So this is my advice to you. If you're looking for something like what I decided to do with it and you have my skin tone and you want to manipulate this into like basically a chisel palette with some blushes and stuff, it is beautiful and I think you're going to get use out of it. If you have a deep complexion, I think that this might be a beautiful palette for you and you're probably going to be so happy with this one. So that is my thoughts on the palette. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope it was somewhat helpful, especially if you were like me and you thought all of them looked boring except for Tiger, but you have light medium skin tone and you weren't sure if you can make it work. I hope this helped you. So thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, but don't forget to hit subscribe so you see the next video come up. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.